In our first few episodes, we determined some reasons that you might not be able to go into a trance easily, and identified some common issues with the content that you're engaging with. This way, you'll know if that's the problem. At this point, you might have some idea if it really is you, physiologically or psychologically, having difficulty going into trance. I've already outlined a few strategies for you to become a better subject, but today I'll present you with a variety of specific techniques that you can use to go deeper into trance. Most of these are things that you can do right away, right before you listen, so that you can jump right into trance. You might be asking, oh, do I really have to do stuff? Do I have to put in effort to make this work? Well, yeah, but I'm going to make this as easy as possible for you. You don't have to use all the techniques. You just have to use whatever sounds attractive to you. You'll know it sounds like fun, interesting. If it seems like it might be effective for you, well, it probably will be. I don't want you forcing yourself to do things you're uncomfortable with. That would defeat the purpose. We want you clear-minded, comfortable, and excited to go further. Now, if you're doing hypnosis live in person with your hypnotist standing directly in front of you, that's fantastic. That's got to be the optimum scenario. But most of us are listening to content online, and that means you have to use a device. So do your headphones sound good? Most cheap headphones are still going to sound better than whatever comes out of your phone speakers. But getting a decent set of mid-range headphones will improve the experience. Especially when someone goes to great lengths to make a high-quality recording. I like to listen to semi-professional studio headphones to make sure that my content sounds right. But a really cheap way to get great audio seems to be with these IEMs, inner ear monitors. They go into the ear and they tend to sound quite good. For my ear shape, they tend to fall out, but it's probably different for you and maybe you should try it out. Personally, I love my Sennheiser HD 650 headphones. They are a really good value, very accurate sounding, which is why I use it for making content. They do lack some bass, so I hooked it up to a iFi Zen DAC, which has a bass boost feature. Now, normally I wouldn't recommend that unless your headphones are lacking in bass. This is just a fantastic sounding combination for the money. Really well-known headphones in the audiophile community. For most people getting into the audio hobby, it is the entry high-end headphone. Personally, I love Sennheiser headphones because they focus on build quality and audio quality instead of appearances and marketing. It's not for everybody, but I've been daily driving mine for some 8 odd years now, and I've had 0 issues besides the fact that they are kinda huge. You should also consider the kind of position that you're in while listening, because your headphones might get in the way or hurt your ears when you lie on your side. So figure out what works for you. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. Look at the reviews, see what's good for the price. Don't obsess over it, because the more clarity that you get from your headphones, oftentimes the worse a bad recording can sound. After I got a set of decent headphones, I noticed that a lot of hypnosis content out there was kind of not listenable anymore. If it's exported in like 50 kilobytes per second, that's the data rate, it can sound really awful, man. The fidelity just becomes terrible. You notice like the scratchy digitalness. You start to hear those compression artifacts. Now I'm kind of wondering, does anyone use speakers to listen to hypnosis? Hit me up in the comments and let me know. We use binaural effects so often that we have to use the left and right ear together to create a sort of inner tone. Maybe if you have a properly set up two-speaker thing on your left and right, maybe it's a cool effect. Something to experiment with for sure. So now that you have a decent device to listen on, let's talk about some quick techniques to get into a trance. First technique is simply a quick stretch, because as you make the body more open and flexible, your mind reacts by becoming more open and flexible. Your physiology is related to your psychology. When you stretch, you are training yourself to let go, to allow. And it just gives you a good feeling, a sanity, a relaxation, and a relief. Experiments even show that you have a better pain tolerance after stretching. And it just makes sense. You just feel more open and allowing and, in general, better. Of course, you can find any guide for a stretching session online. They will all work great. But I did bump into this one video called "The Only 3 Stretches You Need for Better Flexibility." And it really is just 3 stretches that target the entire body. You could do each one for 30 seconds, and you could honestly complete your entire stretching session in 90 seconds because there's only 3. We are not looking to become a contortionist master, of course. We are just trying to loosen up a bit. And trust me, a 90-second stretch is far more than most people today get. And I'm willing to bet that you could blow away the average person in terms of flexibility with just that 90 seconds per day. If you're really into this type of thing, you could do entire yoga sessions because they train the mind and the body to be more open and receptive and allowing. And these are all things that are going to enhance your hypnosis experience. Meditation is also very similar to this. And the more you meditate, the better you will become at going into a hypnotic trance. They are very similar experiences. They both lower the brainwave state, kind of sending your mind into another realm. And as you get used to that, you can go down faster and faster with practice. There's all kinds of different meditation types, from Zen to movement and everything in between. I won't go into the details on that, but I will show you a very effective meditation technique that only takes a few seconds to drop you into that zone real quick. This technique is called box breathing or square breathing. There's a few variations on this, but the basic idea is breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. This is a really quick way to drop into sleep or to drop into hypnosis really quick. It changes the brainwave levels incredibly fast. Remember, the 4 steps are breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. Real simple. Let's actually try that right now, just to see if it works well for you. I'll give you a moment, and then I'll just start counting and you follow with your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you did that correctly, you took about 4 deep breaths within 1 minute, and your brain waves changed just in that 1 minute. It's a really incredible technique, and you can use that just before jumping into hypnosis. How did that make you feel? Let me know, leave a comment so that other people can see as well what worked for you, and maybe it'll work for them. The next technique is rolling your eyes upwards to go deeper. Yes, you just push your eyes up. You don't have to go until it hurts. You just gently push them up. And this does something to your nerve system. It changes the brainwave frequencies. Now, if you're familiar with brainwaves, you might know that it goes from gamma to beta, alpha, theta, finally to delta, which is very, very deep sleep. And I know that rolling up your eyes seems to take you down into alpha wave. So that's from the beta wave of around 20 hertz to alpha wave of about 10 hertz. And perhaps it could take you into theta. I don't know. That would be around 6 hertz. Now, does it take you infinitely down all the way to delta? I'm not sure. It is a bit challenging to do that sort of thing, so you could do this at any time as a deepener. Definitely something to experiment with because it is so quick and effective. In fact, you might be able to combine it with square breathing to give you a really good effect. I have tried it myself, and it does seem to work. In fact, it kind of makes the brainwave lowering creep up on you. While your eyes are pushed up, you don't really notice it happening. And then when you stop, it's kind of like, whoa, I didn't realize I had dropped there. So, interesting effect. I would like to note that there is a fantastic Qigong variation of the box breathing called abdominal breathing, which you won't find if you Google abdominal breathing. You would only find this in a Qigong book. It's basically the same thing, but you push in on that area just below your belly button as you breathe out, and then you release it as you breathe in. A very simple technique, but very good for your health and not to be underestimated. The next one is going to be basically sleep paralysis, which may sound a little bit uncomfortable or frightening for some because that's a bit of a nightmare when you wake up and you can't move. It's a thing that happens to some people. In my culture, it's often called the old hag because traditionally you would have a vision of an old hag laying on top of you. I don't know why that particular superstition came about, but we are going to induce that feeling. Have you ever had that sensation when you wake up, but it feels like your body kind of can't move? For some people, it feels really serious and powerful over them, like they can't move at all. And for some, it's that sensation like you could move if you really wanted, but every time you make a bit of effort, it's like it just doesn't happen. But we can induce this sort of experience, and it can feel very hypnotic. You basically just lie there completely motionless for about 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes, and you're going to get that sensation of your body going to sleep. This can be very pleasant and relaxing, and it can help you to go into trance. Next, let's talk about the vagus nerve, which is particularly important if you have issues with nervousness, which I totally understand. And basically, it's a nerve in your neck area, and it influences your parasympathetic system. That's your fight or flight system. There's a number of ways to stimulate or tone your vagus nerve to induce relaxation, improve digestion, and get you into that state of mind where you can go into a trance more easily. Vagal toning or stimulation of the vagus nerve is a discussion in of itself, so I can't go into too much detail. But you can stimulate it with a splash of cold water on your face or on your body. You can do it with movements and touch, breathing exercises. You can make sounds. You can do eye movements, things like that. I'm no expert on the subject, but I do know that it's a great thing to get into. Okay, it's time to get a little bit edgy because I'm going to start talking about microdosing. And that is when you take a very small amount of a substance, usually a psychedelic, and this will cause an extra inspiration. Now, in terms of drugs and alcohol, many people will want to use a regular dose or even a high dose of that to try to get a hypnotic effect. But the basic rule is that yes, those things can enhance the experience, but less is more. Because if you take too much, it really ruins the experience. If you get too inebriated, you can't focus properly and it won't work on you. And you really need a lot less than you think. That's why I always say less is more when it comes to these things. That's why maybe you could try a microdose. Psychedelics in an extremely low dosage, I'm talking like barely even perceptible, they give you an effect of increased energy and productivity. In fact, personally, I think this is the correct way to use a psychedelic, and anything that you can feel would be an overdose. It should be subtle. It should feel like you. It's an enhancement to you, not something that takes over you and alters your mind, which may sound like a good thing. It may sound like what you want to achieve, like what you're doing with hypnosis. But actually, that substance is taking over you rather than the direction of the hypnosis. Your tolerances can go up very quickly with psychedelics. That's why most recommend only doing it every 3 to 4 days so that you don't build up any tolerance. But I have found that it's best to go about a week to make sure that it's really fresh for you. The timing is up to you. I've also considered that if you would like to continuously microdose, you could do something different on a different day of the week. Now, this discussion could span an entire episode, but I will briefly go over a few different substances. Marijuana is increasingly legalized, so let's talk about that. It's a plant that naturally relaxes the body, opens the mind, and increases your sensations. So naturally, that's an interesting place to start. There's a number of different strains and qualities of marijuana, so different types are actually going to have a different effect. There are some that are more heady and give you more of a head buzz. There are some that will relax the body more. But really you want to go for a high CBD strain because that's the part that gives you the extra clarity, the lowered inflammation, the medical benefits, and you know that it's probably grown from actual soil rather than some kind of laboratory fluid, which is how they get high THC out of most of what they sell today. Again, a small amount works better because too much will make your mind wander. Now, this can be a good recreational experience for you because that might be what you're into. That might be the kind of experience you're looking for. If you'd like to fall into a dreamscape without the hypnosis having any actual lasting effects, then that could be fantastic for you. Otherwise, stick with the less is more approach. An important thing you should note on using substances like this under trance is that the effects will be more pronounced when you are using the substance again, because your brain associates them together. That's why some people say if you study high, you need to take the test while you're high. This is true, though I must add, studying sober works better than studying high. What I like about a microdose is that this effect is not very strong because you're not really high during those moments. That way, what you learned during your session can still work outside of the session even when you're not using the substance. The next is psilocybin mushrooms. These are essentially about connection and closeness, open-mindedness, and emotions. Too much of this can very quickly make you think things that don't make any sense. In high dosage, it can even make you hallucinate. If you're doing something that requires you to connect with yourself or the people, the world around you in order to accomplish your goal, this is a great one to microdose. It can put a lot of emotion into what you're doing. It can help you follow your natural intuition. Mushrooms are a natural part of the world, and they have a message for us. I think it's best to take some advice from them every now and then, but still remain human. I like to think of mushrooms as encouraging connection because a fungus reaches out and spreads its mycelium. It may not look like it, but a spread of mushrooms are often a single plant, one fungi. These sprouting bodies are just different parts of that one fungi. It breaks down rotting plant materials and turns it into something else. It processes, it integrates, and it teaches us to do these things. To connect, to process, to integrate. It shows us that we are all one. We are here together. Next up is LSD or acid. This one you have to be very careful with because it is a lab-created substance, but it can be used to shake things up, make you more creative, enhance your enthusiasm. I think that the dosages that most people use this are completely pointless because at that point it will just make you see a bunch of stupid stuff. it mixes up your sensory inputs, and overall just really muddies things. But that's just my opinion. Next is ketamine, a literal tranquilizer. And we're seeing a lot of scientific study on this as a cure for depression, sort of used once a month, and you experience this deep relaxation, and then you feel better, and it lasts for quite a while. So I would like to see some more studies on that, and I would like you to explore that medically if you can, because it looks like an incredibly promising treatment. Now, I don't have any experience with this, but I do think that this has got to be useful for enhancing your hypnotic experience. I mean, what if part of that medical treatment involved going into a state of hypnosis while you are really relaxed by this substance? It's got to be an amazing feeling, taking that hypnosis deep, deep into you, really integrating it into you. We really need to begin exploring that avenue as a possibility because the world needs so much more tranquility right now. And you already know about alcohol. It's not typically the best substance on earth, but maybe one little drink could help you, provided you're not an alcoholic, of course. Provided you really can just have one drink, because it's very easy to go overboard with it. And hypnosis does not work at all on drunk people. Maybe for some people, but for most, you're just not going to get the effect that you want. So again, we are back to less is more. So on to personal nutrition. Again, this one could be an entire episode. There is no limit to how deep you can go on that and how individual it is, because we all have different eating habits. We're all eating different foods. We have different needs. How much of this nutrient do you have in your diet, and are you low on this, too high on that? It goes really deep and complex. So basically making sure you have the nutrients necessary to have a clear mind and a calm body. There are a few supplements that I will mention briefly. You can go into your own research on them to really find what's right for you. Remember, none of this is medical advice. Do your own research. But let's talk banana tea. And it's not really a tea. I'm talking about water boiled with a banana. When you drink this water, you're going to feel incredibly relaxed. It feels so good. You have to try it. I don't know if it's the combination of the plant form of magnesium and potassium and whatever that's in the peel and the banana. I just know it super relaxes you, and if you drink this before a hypnosis session, it's going to be awesome. I have drank it myself, and I've seen other people drink it, and their face like droops, and you feel kind of like you're stoned without getting high. So get a banana, preferably organic, not just for taste, but because the peel often has a lot of pesticides. Then rinse off the peel real good, take the sticker off, rinse all that really good, and chop the ends off just for taste. Make sure it's a ripe banana because the water is going to taste like the ripeness of the banana. Drop the whole thing in, peel and all, into a small pot of water, just enough water to barely cover the top of the banana. That will give you a good water to banana ratio to make it as strong as possible. Maybe you even want to cut the banana in half to fit it in the pot properly. Boil it for about 10 minutes and then throw away the banana. Put a little cinnamon, maybe some sweetener in there for taste. And then drink it down and listen to a hypnosis file, and you're going to go into a world of bliss. If you have trouble relaxing, this is the one for you. Your body will melt. This is largely because of the magnesium that's in the banana peel. Magnesium is a really important nutrient that most of us don't get enough of. It's really important for strong teeth and bones and muscles and just everything in the body. And it helps you to relax. So you could straight up just take magnesium. Probably the fastest and cheapest magnesium is called magnesium citrate. You can often get this in a sweetened powder form, and it hits you quick and makes you feel really nice and relaxed. The problem with magnesium citrate is that it can speed up your bowel movements. So you can make sure that you get the dosage correct. But a lot of people have moved on to magnesium bisglycinate. And I don't think it works quite as fast. I don't think it's quite as relaxing, but it does fulfill your nutrient requirements and it does relax you. This is a combination of magnesium and an amino acid known as glycine, which is good for sleep, and it also can give you some wild dreams. Overall, glycine is gaining a lot of traction for all of the health benefits that it has, particularly a couple of new studies showing that when you combine it with NAC, N-acetylcysteine, it seems to make you live longer. But I digress. There is a relatively new form of curcumin called curcumin meriva, and that one's showing a lot of promise in terms of relaxation and relief, lowered inflammation, and some extraordinary health benefits. Do your own research. We are gaining more knowledge on these things every day. That one doesn't really have an immediate effect, but here's one that does. It's called niacin, particularly the nicotinic acid version of it. There's a lot of discussion in the health community on which form of niacin is best. We have discovered that nicotinic acid might not be the best form of it in terms of health and longevity, but it does have a very nice effect that most do not talk about, and it's quite powerful, and you can feel it within minutes. It's called the niacin flush, and if you've ever experienced it, you know it's something. Get the dosage correct, because too much will make you very uncomfortable very fast. The niacin flush causes this rush of blood through the body up to the skin. It can cause this redness, and if you take too much, it will cause itchiness and make you really hot. But if you take just the right amount, it can make you feel warm, social, relaxed, open, and pleasurable. You'll know you took the right amount of this because you'll get just a tiny little flush on your skin. Maybe you might notice one or two little spots here and there where a little temporary redness has occurred, and then it goes away in a couple of minutes. You don't just get a little happiness and comfort boost along with that blood flow. Most people also get quite horny and stimulated. Yes, it makes you turned on, which is why you might want to try this if you are interested in doing some erotic hypnosis. Remember, the no-flush version of this vitamin will not cause any of these effects. My friends and I found that of those little 500 milligram tablets, you could bite off 1/3 of it and still get the effect, maybe even too much of the effect. I believe they came in those large dosages because people who take it regularly, people who are doing high dosage niacin, they don't get the effect because the body gets so used to it. Now, if you take too much of that and you get the flush and you get really uncomfortable, you get hot, you get really itchy, it's okay. It's a simple B vitamin, it's water soluble, and you will pee it out. You drink some water, you wait 20 minutes, you'll be fine. I have definitely experienced it myself after taking a full tablet, having a panic attack when really I was completely fine. And I've seen it happen to my friends when they took an entire tablet. And the result is pretty hilarious. They always think their skin is on fire, they're insanely itchy, and they become crazy horny at the same time. It is a really funny spectacle, but you don't really want to go through it yourself. Another amino acid worth looking into is theanine, which people often use for extra clarity and for improving their sleep. And that's an indicator that that might work well for hypnosis. So there's so many different things to talk about, so many different possibilities with nutrition and substances that you probably did not even realize. But now we have scratched the surface. Remember to do your own research. I am not responsible for whatever you take. I have outlined a number of products and techniques for you to try. Just as a reminder, we talked about headphones, stretching, meditation, square breathing, rolling your eyes up, laying perfectly still, exploring vagus nerve techniques, psychedelic microdoses, banana tea, magnesium, glycine, curcumin, nicotinic acid, glycine, theanine, and I'm sure there's plenty more. And if you know anything, please leave a comment so that we can discuss and figure out these things, because we all want to go deeper into hypnosis. And public discussions on this can be so helpful. If you have any issues with what I've said today and you need to make some corrections for all of us, please share it, because we want this to be optimum. Also, wouldn't it be cool to have a customized supplement that combines a number of things made specifically to enhance hypnosis? Wouldn't that be cool? I think that's a bit beyond my scope, but it would be really cool for the hypno lovers out there. Again, get into the public discussion on this in the comments so that we can figure out these techniques. Share your experiences and questions. Your input is really valuable. I'm Jackson Stock, and thank you so much for listening today. You can listen to my hypnosis files at transformhypnosis.com. You can also find me on YouTube under the name Jackson Stock.